I'm just doing an update. No, I haven't posted one for a few, I don't know, maybe weeks. I don't know, weeks or days. But anyway, we're going to get into it. So, I've actually know what I needed that. Let me put this back. Perfect. So, been working on these PVS digital units, trying to get a low budget night vision solution for people. And my thinking is this is one of the most hated night vision, which is the PVS-18 and the PVS-14. So if I can upgrade these and make these things halfway decent, then that'll be a pretty good benefit to low budget night vision. And these are the ones that are universally hated. That's the reason why I picked these. So after playing around with this PVS 14, I understand exactly why they did the things that most people complain about. So let's get into it. Uh, so why is this thing so bad? Well, I'm gonna explain it to you. But first thing with this one, the PVS 18 is really isn't as bad as people complain about. It has some things on it that is kind of wonky, but it's really not that bad. And researching this, I found out that these three both have the exact same sensor as the NVG30, right? So if you look at it, let me see, I'm trying to remember it from memory. I believe it's the ultra low light CMOS sensor, but they all have the same sensor. So why does the NVG30 has way better performance when these two have poor performance and they have exactly the same sensor? Well, I'm going to tell you why. The reason why this one had poor performance is because the IR reflector is trash. Now, with one of these, I'll show you, blah, blah, blah. One of these on, which is this thing here, and actually it's also on here where you can use the diaphragm. That solves most of the issues that people would complain about this, meaning that they can't see, hey, what's going on? That you can't see what's close up to you. So you really need to be able to adjust your aperture, which is what, put this thing here down. That's what this does. So if you got objects that are close or far away, you can adjust the aperture on that one and still not have to refocus. Okay, what's the okay. Let's see here. So what I did to upgrade the PVS 18 is I just put one of those reflectors on it and I put it, not put it, I put red tint over it to kind of help with the light, because the red light is better, shows up better on the infrared sensors, because these are near infrared, but it does have the infrared sensor in this one. I believe it was between what is it, 750 to 800 nanometers is what the sensor was for this one. Okay, back to why this performs better. You see that right here? That is the anti-reflection coating on it, right? That means that whenever the light hits it, you don't have as much of it being reflected. Because what happens is when the light hits these sensors, because the sensor is really shiny, a lot of that stuff is reflected back out. And what ends up happening is not all the light goes into the sensor, which means you get lens flare and that kind of stuff, and then you can't see. But this unit here, you can see about, with the upgrades on it, you can see about 100 feet away in the dark, which is pretty good. You can also see in relatively total darkness. Like, even with this one, if I were to cover up the IR illuminator, I think I did one showing that in a couple of videos back. You can still see in the dark with it, which is pretty decent. And I'm going to give you kind of an idea what it looks like if I can get it. Let's go. So as you can see, that's the anti-reflection coating on it. And you can sort of see that you can sort of see the sensor in it, but not really good. I'm gonna set this guy over to the side. I'll probably, if someone's interested, I may make a mold so or either a 3D cast so you can put a reflector on this one if you want to improve the performance. But really, with a diopter on here, not a diopter, sorry, it has a diopter. With the being able to control the aperture with the diaphragm, the upgrade reflector, and something else that is critical. These guys give you a lot of eye strain. So what I did was I put tint on the back of it so that I don't have that really bright light shining in your eye, which is annoying. Getting all that bright light just shining in your eye, it hurts your eye. So I put tint on that to prevent that. And I think I showed that in a couple of videos back. If you're interested, you can go look it up. But all I did was just use regular green. Got it laying around here somewhere. It's regular green window tint. Uh, Fudge, where I put it? I tried using these, but these things didn't work. They weren't really, even though these aren't green, but this one is green. Even though this wasn't really clear, you can see through it, but it's not the clarity I wanted. So I just stuck with the window tint, which works pretty good. Now, what's my train of thought? Oh yeah. So the sensor. That is the reason why this one performs better than the other one if you do the upgrades to it. But mainly the issue that most people talk about where they can't see in front of them, that's all aperture. If you adjust your aperture, you won't have any of those problems. Now, the one I'm working on now trying to improve it is this PVS-14. This thing has a bunch of issues with it. But after tinkering around with it, I know why they did what they did. If you hear that noise, that's probably my dog doing something in the background. I don't know what he's doing. But okay. So now let's see, can I get it where you can see in here? So even though I have it where I can adjust for the aperture, let's see, can I get up in there? Good. That sounds wrong. Okay, so you can see, yeah, you should be able to see the sensor. But also too, you can see inside of here just like that. So if you can see inside of this, that means that it's a bunch of light that should be going to the sensor is being reflected back out of the glass. This is not optical glass or anything like that, which it should be. So that's a big issue that's wrong with this. Here's another issue that's wrong with this. Obviously, it suffer the same issue that the other one has, meaning that you got the light shining in your eye. So I did the same thing on this one. I put it on. I put the tint on it so that I don't get as much eye strain. I also too recommend you probably using green shades like this, only because you have one eye used to looking at green and the other eye that isn't, and then afterwards you kind of get a weird looking contrast between colors where that one color looks kind of different than the other in one eye, and the other eye looks a little more weird. So I'm just telling you that now to kind of lessen some of your eye strain. Both of these units do perform well if you use like one of these lights that has the IR illuminator on it. But the existing unit itself should be capable of seeing in the dark. Now that we know it has the same sensor as the NVG30. Now, like when I remember I was testing this one, which is my go-to night vision, I love this. It works fine. It just is a single eye, but I can have two screens in there that I can see and they're round. So I really like. But I hate square screens, but it's just something to work around with the cheaper ones. Now, playing around with this, I now know why these things are always zoomed in. Why these things are always like 3x magnification. So I'm going to tell you the reason why. The reason why is that the sensor, not the sensor, the IR illuminator is really a culminator lens for like a laser. And I know this because I'll show you. I took the sensor out. Not sensor, I keep saying that. I'm sorry. I took out the lens holder. If you're having troubles or issues getting this lens holder out, by the way, this tool here works pretty good. One of these pliers. With the ring snap tool, it worked fine. That's how I was able to remove it. And I've been playing around with upgrading the reflector, but it's a lot of things I'm gonna have to work on it and change. But when you look at it, this lens here and this should have been a different diameter than this, right? This is a laser culminating lens. And one thing that makes this a suitable candidate to upgrade the reflector is that because it's a culminator, because it's made for a laser, it has a coating on it that is good for infrared light. And I believe it was from 400 to 750 nanometers, which is decent, but the unit itself wavelength that it's supposed to operate in, I believe it's supposed to be 840 to 950 nanometers. So that means that you should get better light performance out of this than what you're getting, but I'm not. So when I took this out, what I found is that inside of here is a cylinder that has a bunch of reflective material on it. Like, imagine it's like a cylinder is probably an inch long, and it's covered in a reflective material, and on the end of it, it is a what do you call it? It's an LED. That's IR LED, right? And the IR LED is fairly weak, even though it should be. Hold on, my dog hears some noise in here. I think he wants to go to the other side. What do you want, buddy? Hold on, let me let him out. You wanna go to the side, buddy? Guess he wants to go back the other way. Hold on one second. Okay. I clean it up. Mhm. All right. All right, folks. I'm sorry about that. My dog threw her up. I had to go see about him. All right, but so where was I? Oh yeah, I'm talking about the IR illuminator. So if you can imagine it, it's like this. I'll show you. So it's like this: a cylinder, and on the inside of the cylinder is reflective material, and on the end of it is a LED. I have no idea if that is exactly how an analog PVS-14 looks, since I don't own one, so I couldn't tell you. But that is in fact what's inside of here. Now, if this is a lens holder and this lens is meant for a laser, then that explains the poor performance. Because this thing here, it should be out to, I believe, based on the specs, it should be out. I mean, it should be good. You don't see any light past 14 feet. Now, I can see about 50 feet away, but that's only because it has a good sensor. So I can see about 50 feet away, but I can't see as far as I should be able to see with this. So to compensate for the weak illuminator, what they did was they zoomed in right by default. So they put a 3x magnification lens on it. That way, when you looking through the back end of it, and you're looking at an object about 50 feet away, it's still viewable. So that's why it's zoomed in like that. Now, they could have easily just fixed the illuminator and put maybe a laser illuminator on here. IR illuminator that's a laser, eye safe laser would have been excellent, but we didn't get that. So, knowing all that, I started tinkering around at first with different type of reflectors, trying to improve the performance. And the first thing I did was just use this kind of reflector, and it really didn't do the job. I really need to be able to focus it. So my second attempt was when I removed the native lens and the holder altogether, I used a laser culminator, and that's what this one here is. But it's too difficult trying to adjust it for the focus. So I'm looking for another laser culminator. I got this one because this one wasn't too expensive, but laser culminators do get expensive. Some of them are relatively inexpensive, and then some of them are like 150, 200 bucks, that type of thing. So I'm trying to find one that will be a suitable candidate, but won't break the bank in case you want to do the upgrades yourself, because nobody wants to spend a bunch of money on a digital upgrade anyway, right? So that's what I'm currently looking into now. I have found some of them that do have a adjustable focus that's easier to use than this one. Another good potential upgrade would be a beam expander, but most of the beam expanders that I saw were really large and long and expensive. Well, that sounds wrong too, I know. They were just expensive. So what I'm doing now is looking for that to upgrade. The other thing that I'm going to do is I got the tools so I can disassemble the lens, and I'm going to swap the lens out. So when I first tried to take the lens off, I did not have the special tool that the PVS-14 needs to remove the lens. So I used this watch case removal tool, which worked fine on the PVS-18, but this lens will not budge. So I need a special tool to disassemble that. So once I take that lens out, I'm going to go and try to match it up and find the right lens so I can have one magnification, and the lens that I'm going to get is going to be a lens coated for near infrared light and infrared light, and have an anti-reflection coating on it on both sides. That way you're getting most of the light going into the sensor, and also has a pass-through filter, because like this particular one, it also uses a filter on it that helps keep the infrared light from being reflected back out. So after I do those upgrades, let's see how it performs. And that's why you see this looking like this. I was just experimenting around with the reflectors. Since I had two laser culminators, I was just trying to see what kind of design worked it better. But like I said, I can't use this one because it's only, I think it was 450 to 750 nanometers, and it's not all of the light that this is supposedly capable of producing. So once I get better culminators on here, I can see what kind of performance I get. And then once I get that ironed out, I will go on to the lens, because one thing about this, you should be able to see at least 50 feet away. It has to be the lens because, like I said, this has the same exact sensor as the NVG30, which has excellent performance, but this one has trash performance. So The only thing it could be is that this one has is the lens that's that's the drawback, and the IR illuminator really wouldn't make as much of a difference in that case. It does have some, but a lot of it is just the way that, let's see, can I set it down here? This is how it is with this native lens on here, because it's a bunch of light being reflected away from the sensor. And I'll show you something else too that's on here. See, if you look inside of here, you see that it's shiny parts in there, which is exactly not what you want, because you want all of the light to be focused into the sensor. You don't want it bouncing around in the inside. The reason why I like this unit is it is all metal. That is a plus. Unlike most of these, it's not made out of plastic. It's made out of aluminum, which is good. They did a very decent job with replicating. I'm tongue tied. Replicating the look of the PVS-14. They just didn't replicate the performance. Now, like I said, they could have made this pretty good. It does have a good sensor in it. What they could have did, but they didn't, was if they would have made this so that the lenses removed the exact same way as a analog PVS-14, so you could replace the lenses with an analog lens. That would have been great, and that would have let you remove all of these lenses that comes with it and put whatever aftermarket ones you want to upgrade it. But they didn't do it. But you can cut the IR illuminator off, which is good. That was a complaint about the PVS 18, that you can't cut the illuminator off. The illuminator is always on. So that's one thing I do like about this one. I think if I can get the better glass, I can get the performance to be a lot better. I only want it right now. My goal is only to get it to about 50 feet away. If I can get it 50 feet away, then that's perfect. I put a reflective target up at about 50 feet. So if the IR illuminator was shining on it, I would see the reflection in it, and I don't see that. So I know that it's not reaching 50 feet. So that's why I need to have the zoom so I can kind of zoom in on it, make it better. I'm also going to buy that little holder for your phone so that I can put my phone inside of it and attach it to the PVS-14 so you can see it better. Because when I try to film it, it doesn't come out clearly, so I don't even bother a lot of times. Also, too, when I did it, another way that you can possibly work around the zoomed in effect would be to use fisheye lenses. That does work. I did try it. I use both of these lenses up here, the 0.42 and the 0.43 fisheye lens. Those work fine. It's just that sometimes the lenses are a little fuzzy, but it would be better if I could fix the native lens itself and upgraded that to get better performance. But that's pretty much it. That's all I really wanted to talk about. Let you guys know how it's progressing. The main reason why I wanted to tinker around with this is because whenever I'm out shooting and I'm using this, even though I can see up close and then I can see far away with it, but it with the length of it, it does makes it difficult for me to shoot through it with my shotgun because I have the tech down there, and based on the distance of it, it's kind of close. So I would rather use it shooting through. I mean, looking through this one and see would it be easier for me to use it. If that makes sense. So once I actually get everything ironed out and fixed, I'll try to come out with a parts list. So if anybody have these and they want to tinker around with it, trying to make it better for themselves, they can. The only reason why I would say that maybe these are worth tinkering around with is because they do have the same sensor as an NVG30. So knowing that, it has to be the other things that's wrong with it, like the lens and the IR illuminator. And so if I fix that stuff, I fix the unit. Well, I thanks everybody who came to look at it, what I'm doing, and you can stay tuned to see my next stream. Please like and subscribe to my channel. That way you can get updates when I go back live. I'm going to do a better, more in-depth review at some point, but for right now, I was just trying to do a video showing what I was working on how to work around these problems that I found with this. So, with that being said, I'll see you guys later.